You know that feeling when a song starts and just boom, you instantly know what it is?
Oh, yeah. Within the first second.
It could be some huge arena anthem or even just the music for a video game level.
Right.
What you're hearing, that's the power of the guitar riff. It's like this atomic unit of modern music. And today we're going to unpack what makes it so powerful.
It's basically the song's identity card.
Mm.
A riff is just a short sequence of notes or chords, but it repeats to create this pattern you can't forget.
The backbone of rock and blues.
Exactly. And there's a reason guitarists usually play them on the lower strings.
For that thick, heavy foundation, it gives the whole song its weight. Okay, but let's get this clear right away, because I feel like people confuse them all the time.
Riff versus solo.
Yeah. What's the real difference?
It all comes down to its job, its function in the song. A solo is, big spotlight moment.
The fireworks show.
Perfect way to put it. It's often improvised, and it usually only happens once. A riff, on the other hand, is the scaffolding. It's designed to be looped.
It has to be repeatable.
And it has to be supported by the rest of the band. The bass player, the drummer, they all lock into it. The solo is the flair. The riff is the engine.
The thing that actually drives the car?
Precisely. It's the main identifier. I mean, think about any classic rock song. You can probably name it from the first 2 seconds of the riff way before any singing starts.
So its main job is to be a kind of musical anchor.
An anchor that hooks you. If you think of the singer as telling the story, the riff is the current that's carrying you along, keeping that forward momentum.
And it has to fill the space.
A vital purpose, yeah. When the vocals are going, that riff is still there, providing this melodic counterpoint. If you took it out, the song would suddenly sound thin, empty.
A great riff works with the vocal line. It doesn't just sit under it.
Totally. And where you put it is key. We think of them as intros, sure, but they come back in the chorus, or they can act as a bridge between sections. It's that recurring theme.
Which is where that band unity you mentioned becomes so important.
It's critical. The riff sets the entire energy. The drummer and the bassist have to lock their timing in perfectly.
That just close, but perfect.
If they're even a tiny bit off, the whole sound it collapses. That's how professional songwriters use them, to build and release tension throughout the entire track.
That makes a lot of sense. But here's a question. If the whole song is built around this one repeating idea, doesn't that, limit the other players? Doesn't it box in the bassist or the drummer?
That's a really great question. But instead of seeing it as a limit, I think it's better to see it as setting the boundaries.
Okay, so it gives them a framework.
Exactly. A very specific rhythmic structure to play with or even play against. The bassist might play a variation of it, or just the root notes to give it more weight. The drummer fills around that established rhythm. It forces creativity inside that framework.
Got it. So we know what they are and what they do. Now, how do guitarists make them sound so aggressive and punchy? Let's get into the techniques, starting with the big one for heavy music, palm muting.
Palm muting is absolutely essential for that percussive sound. The player just rests the side of their strumming hand lightly on the strings, right by the bridge.
And that stops the notes from ringing out fully.
Right. And you get that really tight, chunky chug, chug, chug sound.
The sound of metal. It cuts the note off so fast that the guitar almost becomes another drum.
Precisely. It allows for incredible speed and clarity even when the amp is really loud.
Yeah.
And that speed is often built on power chords.
Okay, power chords. They're fundamental.
Totally. And they're simple. You're only playing 2 notes, the root and the fifth. You skip the note in the middle.
And skipping that middle note is the important part.
It's the whole point. When you're using a lot of distortion, a full chord with 3 or more notes can sound messy. It turns into sonic mud.
Okay.
But power chords sound huge and clean and aggressive, even with tons of gain, because they're so simple. The perfect building block for fast riffs.
That's a great example of just musical efficiency. So for movement, guitarists have tricks to play faster without picking every single note, right? Like hammer-ons and pull-off.
Crucial for a fluid sound. A hammer-on is when you pick a note, then use another finger to quickly hammer down on a higher fret. You get a new note without picking again.
And a pull-off is just the reverse.
Exactly. It lets you play incredibly fast, and it gives the notes this really smooth, almost liquid flow.
And then for that more emotional bluesy sound, there's string bending.
Oh, yeah. String bending is what gives a riff its personality, its voice.
Yeah.
You're literally pushing the string across the fretboard to raise its pitch.
It almost sounds like the guitar is singing.
It can be mournful or defiant or playful. It adds so much expressive depth to what might be a very simple phrase.
Okay, let's talk about the gear. Because the techniques are one thing, but the actual sound coming out of the amp is something else entirely. Where does that gritty texture come from?
It all starts with gain and distortion. You're pushing the amplifier past its clean limit on purpose.
So you're overloading it.
You're overloading it, which clips the sound wave. That clipping adds grit and harmonics. It turns a polite, clean sound into that thick, saturated texture that we associate with rock.
And this is where the actual body of the guitar comes into play, which I find fascinating. For those super distorted riffs, you almost always see a solid body electric guitar.
That's a great point. Solid body guitars are basically just a dense block of wood. They don't have a big, resonant chamber like an acoustic guitar.
And that's actually their superpower for this kind of music.
It is, because it means they can handle insane levels of gain without creating that awful, high-pitched, squealing feedback. The solid body lets the amplifier and pedals do all the work of shaping the tone.
Speaking of pedals, those little boxes on the floor.
Yeah, that's where players find their signature sounds. A wah-wah pedal makes the guitar sound like it's saying wah-wah. A delay pedal creates echoes.
It's how they get their own unique musical voice.
Totally. The same notes can sound completely different just based on the gear you run them through.
So you have the notes, you have the gear, but there's one more non-negotiable ingredient: timing.
Oh, timing is everything. Rhythm is paramount. You can have the coolest notes in the world, but if the rhythm is sloppy, the riff is completely useless.
You have to be locked in with the bass and drums.
Like a single machine. If the guitarist rushes ahead or drags behind, the entire groove just falls apart.
Now, most music we hear is in four time, 4 beats per measure. It's easy to clap to.
Right, it's straightforward. But sometimes straightforward can be a little boring.
Huh.
Which is why the best riffs often use a technique called syncopation.
Syncopation. So that's putting the accents in unexpected places.
Exactly. Imagine you're walking upstairs and you expect each step to be even. Step, step, step. Syncopation is like suddenly skipping a step and landing hard on the next one.
It kind of throws you off balance for a second.
It does. And it makes you lean in and pay attention to catch the groove again. It creates this amazing tension and complexity.
So if we look back, where did this whole idea even come from? This focus on a short, repeating phrase?
It has deep roots in early blues and jazz. You'd hear short little phrases being played in the background. But the real turning point was the invention of the electric guitar.
Because of the volume.
Purely the volume. Before amplification, a guitar just couldn't compete with a drum kit or a horn section.
It was a background instrument.
Right. But once you could amplify those little phrases and then add distortion, they moved from the background right to the absolute centerpiece of the song.
And then in the 60s and 70s, it just exploded. Bands realized they could build an entire song around one powerful guitar idea.
That period basically created the blueprint for modern rock music. And then as heavy metal evolved, the riffs just got faster and more complex. But the basic idea, it's still the same. A catchy, repeating pattern that tells you everything about the song.
Which brings us to the cultural impact. Why do these little musical phrases matter so much?
Because they define entire generations. They get tied into our collective memory.
Right. A specific riff reminds you of a movie or the car you had in high school.
Exactly. And think about a concert when thousands of people start singing the guitar part. Not the words, the riff.
Yeah, that's a powerful moment.
It's a shared language.
Yeah.
And that simplicity also gives them huge commercial power. You hear them in video games, movie trailers, commercials.
Because they're a shortcut to a feeling, instant energy.
For sure. And for a young person just learning an instrument, what's the first thing they want to do?
Learn a famous riff.
It's a rite of passage. It's how you prove you can participate in the culture.
Okay, so let's shift from history to actually creating one. If you're a student who wants to write your own riff, where do you even start?
You start with scales. Always. Scales are just the organized sets of notes that sound good together. They're the building blocks.
They give you a map so you're not just guessing randomly.
Right. And for rock and blues, the undisputed champion is the pentatonic scale. It only has 5 notes.
And it just sounds right. It's hard to play a bad sounding note in that scale.
It's very forgiving. Then, if you want something that sounds aggressive or sad, you'd use a minor scale. For something happy and upbeat, you'd use a major scale. Understanding that basic emotional choice is half the work right there.
My advice would be to start simple. Don't try to write a masterpiece. Just find a few notes that have a cool rhythm.
Record it on your phone immediately.
Yes, so you don't forget it. A riff has to be interesting enough to be heard over and over.
And you have to think about the band. always leave space for the bass and drums. A good trick is to just tap out the rhythm first. If the rhythm itself isn't cool, adding notes probably won't fix it.
So once you've written it, you have to learn to play it well. And this is where I see people mess up all the time. They try to play it fast right away.
The biggest mistake. You have to start slow, painfully slow, with a metronome.
If you can't play it perfectly at half speed,
You'll never ever play it well at full speed. Clarity first. Speed comes much, much later.
also you have to practice how you're going to perform. So practice standing up.
It sounds like a small thing, but it's huge. Playing while sitting is comfortable. Standing up, you're balancing the instrument, dealing with a strap, a cable.
It's a completely different feel.
It is. And practice the transitions. How do you get from the riff into the chorus and back again smoothly? That's what makes a song feel polished.
And finally, let's touch on tuning. Standard tuning is, well, standard. But a lot of heavy music uses alternative tunings. The big one being drop D.
Drop D is a monster for heavy riffs. All you do is tune your lowest string, the E string, down one step to a D.
And that one simple change unlocks a lot.
It does. First, it lets you play a full power chord with just one finger barred across the three lowest strings.
Which makes playing fast rhythm patterns way easier.
Way easier. And second, tuning that string down just gives you this deeper, heavier, more aggressive sound. It's why it completely dominates modern rock and metal. A simple tuning change can inspire a whole new way of writing.
So the lesson here is really to just listen. Listen to those dark, heavy riffs. Listen to the bright, jangly pop riffs. Pay attention to how they work.
Yeah. Once you start listening for them, you realize how much identity can be packed into just a few seconds of music. The guitar riff is still probably the most efficient and vital part of any guitar-based music.
Good luck with your studies.